Amandelbroodjes are almond pastries that are very popular in the Netherlands. They're kind of a mix between a saucijzenbroodje and a banketbakkerstaaf. I have made both those recipes before, so I'll put a link to those videos in the description below. It has the shape of the saucijzenbroodje, but then the filling of the banketbakkerstaaf. When I would go to the banketbakker together with my mom as a kid, I would always beg her to buy me one of these amandelbroodjes. I just absolutely love them, and I still do. Hi, I'm Tuan and welcome to my kitchen. If you're new to this channel, I focus on cooking foods from my home country, the Netherlands, and some of its former colonies such as Indonesia. We've received a lot of requests to post a video on how to make amandelbroodjes. So due to the sheer number of people asking for it, and also because I really love them, we're going to make them today. To make 6 amandelbroodjes, you will need 200 grams of sugar, 175 grams of almond paste, 1 egg yolk, a lemon, 1 sheet of puff pastry, and a little bit of water. Over the years, a lot of people have asked me what kind of puff pastry I like to use for my recipes. I will typically give 2 answers. Dufour puff pastry, which is sold at regular grocery stores, or Trader Joe's puff pastry. Now, Trader Joe only sells this around the holidays, so whenever we see it in their freezer section, we stock up on it because it is so good, and it is about a third of the cost of the Dufour. Now, when we were there at Trader Joe's last week, they actually sold almond paste. Never seen it there before. I think it's a new product. Normally I make my own, and I just want to compare what the pre-made one tastes like compared to my own. So this is what we'll be using today. I will show you how to make your own a little bit later in this video. Normally when I make amandelbroodjes, I make my own almond paste, but this time, like I said, I'm using the Trader Joe's version. But in case you can't find that around you, let's take a look at how I made amandel paste in our old kitchen. In a food processor, combine equal amounts of almonds and sugar and the zest of half a lemon and pulse it until it is a fine powder. Then add an egg, some almond extract, and pulse it until it forms a ball. In a mixing bowl, I've already broken up the almond paste into little pieces, and normally whenever I bake with almond paste, I like to add an egg yolk and sometimes even some water. It thins out the paste a little bit, but it also adds a richness to it. So let's add the egg yolk. Since I'm using store-bought almond paste, I like to add in the zest of half a lemon. Now, if you make my almond paste recipe, that already has lemon in it, so then you don't have to do it at this point. The lemon adds a freshness and really enhances the flavor, in my mind, of almond paste. So make sure you don't get any of the white and just the yellow. And if you have a small lemon, you can probably take the zest of an entire lemon. But this one is rather big, so I'm just doing half of it. Okay. Now, with my hand mixer, I am going to mix this all together. Don't put it on high because you'll have almond paste going all over the place. The mixer is basically breaking up the pieces of almond paste into smaller pieces and emulsifying the egg into it and mixing the lemon zest through it. If it seems a little dry, you can add some water. Do like half a teaspoon at a time because you can add water. You can't easily remove water from it. I think it's actually getting pretty close. I'm just gonna go a little longer. I love the smell of almonds. And that little bit of lemon smell added to it, it's a great combination. Okay. Almond paste is always a little sticky, and when you add an egg yolk, it becomes even stickier. This is nice and pliable, nice and soft. I don't have to add any water, but if yours is drier and a little bit grainier, you should probably add a little bit water. I have kind of shaped the almond paste into this long log. It's about 27 centimeters wide, and I'm going to cut that into 6 even pieces. I'm using a ruler just to make my life a little easier. So that's every 4.5 centimeters, like that. I had to do some quick math. What is 4.5 plus 9? 22.5. I'm going to now take each of these pieces and shape them into a log about 10 centimeters long. If you want, you can wet your hands to prevent the almond paste from sticking to it. I don't think that's necessary for me. You may not like the stickiness. Time for the next step, but first I have to wash my hands. This puff pastry came rolled up in parchment paper, so I unrolled it and I'm working on the paper. If yours doesn't, you can dust your work surface with a little bit of flour, not too much, or if you have your own parchment paper, you can work on that. I hope you're enjoying this video. If you are, click the like and subscribe button. It will really help our channel. And if you want YouTube to notify you whenever we post a new video, click the bell. Okay, I have marked the halfway point along the shortest end, and I'm going to cut it into 2 strips. Then I'm going to cut the long strips into 3 even parts. Not just good for pizza. Now we are going to lay our little logs of almond paste on these. You may have to, smoosh them together a little bit to make them the same length as the puff pastry. I am placing them just slightly off center because we're going to fold them over, and that way the little height of the log is compensated for and it should line up perfectly. I have a little bit of water and a pastry brush. Wet the short side next to the almond paste. The water acts as a glue to keep the ends together when you fold them over. We've been taking a little time with this since we're recording, so the dough is a little bit softer than it typically would be. When you're working with puff pastry, you definitely want to make sure that it stays as cold as possible. Since I couldn't get my fingers underneath it, using a little offset spatula. And the last one. Push them together. You want to really seal this. If you want, you can also use a fork to crimp the ends together like you do with saucijzenbroodjes, but that is not typically how Amandelbroodjes work, so I think this one might be, there you go. Since this pastry dough is so soft, I'm actually going to pop it into the fridge for about 10 minutes for it to firm up a little bit, and then we'll dip it in sugar. I've taken the Amandelbroodjes out of the fridge. Now I'm going to brush some water on the top and the curved side, and then dip it into sugar. Move this out of the way. You want to make sure that you get sugar on all of the wet parts. Don't be shy. Make them butt up against each other, because as you're baking it, the almond paste gets soft and you want to prevent it from oozing out. So by butting them up against each other, you should minimize the amount of almond paste that oozes out of your Amandelbroodje. And we're doing that with the rest. I'm going to put these in the fridge for half an hour to firm up even more. About halfway through, start preheating your oven to 200 degrees Celsius, 390 degrees Fahrenheit in non-convection. The oven is preheated. And the broodjes just came out of the fridge. They were in it for a little over half an hour. And now it's time to pop them in the oven. I've taken my Amandelbroodjes out of the oven. Some of the sugar has melted here on the edge. That's perfectly fine. They ended up baking for 22, 23 minutes, and I did have to rotate them halfway through. Now I have them on a rack and they're going to cool off before I can try them. The Amandelbroodjes have completely cooled, and I cut one open so I can show you what the inside looks like. You see the layers of the puff pastry and the nice rich almond paste on the inside. Now, if you look over here, you see a little bit of this brown, like shiny end. That is something that some bakers do. So sometimes when you go to a bakery and you buy an Amandelbroodje, instead of having sugar granules still on top, they'll have a glossy top. You can achieve that by putting these underneath a broiler for just a few seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds most, to melt all the sugar. It will get a darker, shiny top. I personally don't like it that way because the pastry won't stay crunchy as long, since the melted sugar attracts moisture. It's time to taste one. Eet smakelijk. I love the flaky, crunchy pastry with that rich almond paste on the inside. The sugar on the top not only adds sweetness, it also adds to the texture and the mouthfeel. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please click the like and subscribe button, and don't forget to share it with your friends. If you have any questions or memories about eating Amandelbroodjes, please post them in the comments below. You can find the written recipe on my website, twanskitchen.com, with both imperial and metric measurements. And you can follow me on social media as well. If you make this recipe, I would love it if you would post a picture on Instagram with the hashtag #TwansKitchen. I'll feature it in my story and on my website. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next one.